Hi everyone, and thanks for joining me on my talk about investigating sensory perception as a material for fashion design. The presented study aimed to explore new ways of including technology in design processes for fashion making that focus on body garment expressions from and for a bodily internal perspective. The intention of the exploration was to increase the fashion designer's awareness of how dress and body are being perceived in the moment it is worn on the body. Within the framework of an exploratory workshop that I conducted together with undergraduate fashion design students as participants, the alteration of sensory perception was explored using a bodysuit that combined textiles and technologies. The exploration was guided by a theoretical framework for embodied design ideation methods and later analyzed in relation to the participants' described experiences. For the time of the workshop, the bodysuit and its technological components were used by external participants to alter the sensory perception of the person inside the bodysuit. Altering the perception of sight was made possible by connecting a portable video camera to a smartphone app that live-streamed what it captured. The smartphone was positioned inside a head-mounted display so that the person inside the bodysuit would see through the lens of the camera. Altering the perception of sound was made possible by connecting a wireless sound recording system to headphones that the person inside the bodysuit wore. The live sounds were transmitted to the headphones, which made it possible for the participants to hear the environment from different spots of the bodysuit. Altering the perception of touch was made possible by integrating capacitive sensors and vibration motors in the different layers of the bodysuit, so that the person wearing the bodysuit would feel the vibration sensations on their skin when the capacitive sensors on the textile layers were being touched. This setup of the bodysuit allowed the participants to disrupt each other's perception of sight, sound, and touch. In terms of sight, the participants placed the camera at different locations of the body, such as the shoes or the back, as well as at the second layer of the bodysuit, so that they saw the environment from different heights and perspectives. This experience was described as making them feel very small or big, as well as physically twisted when seen from the perspective from the back while walking forwards. Similar was explored by the participants in terms of altering the perception of sound. By placing the microphone at different locations on the body and the second layer of the bodysuit, participants described this experience as hearing the voice of somebody else or their footsteps as closer to them as hearing their own voice. Altering the perception of touch was explored by the participants by connecting capacitive sensors and vibration motors in different patterns. The effect was that the participants could not predict visually where they would perceive a touch sensation through vibration when looking at which locations they were being touched. The participants described this experience as not being able to trust their own body, as visual and haptic stimuli were not connected as the participants were used to. The disruptive potentials of altering the senses were described by the participants as changing their perception of body ownership. This was especially the case when the participants perceived the environment and their body through the outer layer of the bodysuit, which made it difficult for them to distinguish between what they perceived as their body and what was non-body material in terms of the bodysuit. By placing the camera, microphone, and sensors on the textile of the second layer, the participants started to question their perception of where their own body started and where it ended. The experience of the changing perception of body ownership influenced how the participants design each other's perception after they have experienced the alteration of sight, sound, and touch for themselves. Before experiencing it themselves, the participants were eager to obscure how the person inside the bodysuit saw, heard, and felt touch as much as possible by placing the electronic components as sensor substitutes at the bodies of the other participants. However, after experiencing the perceived alteration of bodily senses through the bodysuit, the participants were more considerate when designing perception experiences that were described by the participants wearing the bodysuit as intriguing rather than overwhelming. The participants' feedback during and after the exploratory workshop suggested that personally experiencing a body ownership illusion through dress can improve the fashion designer's awareness and understanding of how dress can be designed with the perspective of sensory perception in mind. Thanks for your time.